Okay, let's try this. Okay, so this week's Parsha is called Parsha's VaYakeil, and the word VaYakeil means to gather. That's what it says at the beginning of the Parsha. Moses then gathered the whole Israelite community, and said to them, "These are the things that the Lord has commanded you to do." And he speaks about Shabbat, and then he speaks about gathering things. Take from among you gifts to the Lord. Everyone whose heart so moves him shall bring them gifts for the Lord: gold, silver, copper, blue, purple and crimson yarns, fine linen, goat's hair, and all these materials that were used for building of it's called the tabernacle. The tabernacle was the portable temple during the 40 years in the desert, and actually continued somewhat into the land of Israel for about 400 years. There were different variations until the actual temple in Jerusalem was built. And all the things that are necessary for it. And at the end it says quite an interesting verse. It says, so the whole community of the Israelites left Moses' presence. He had gathered them at the beginning. That's what VaYakeil means. He convoked them, gathered them, and now they after telling the people, it says that they left his presence. And the question is, what is this verse coming to tell us? Had it just gone to the next verse, and everyone who excelled in ability and everyone whose spirit moved him came bringing to the Lord his offering for the work of the tent of the meeting. What is this? Why do we need to know that the people left? So there's a well-known commentator. His name is Rabbeinu Bechaya. A lot of the commentators of the Torah go back many, many years. The Rabbeinu Bechaya, I'm not actually sure when he lived, but look it up quickly. No, it doesn't really tell us here. Imagine he lived 12th century, 13th century. He's old. Here we go. Bachia ben Asher ibn Hawala was a rabbi and a scholar of Judaism. He was a commentator on the Torah, and he lived in Zaragoza in Spain, 1255 to 1340. Actually, tradition has it that he's buried in Rachel's tomb. That's very interesting. I wonder how he got there and what's the story of that. Anyway, so his commentary over here is that that the whole assembly of the children of Israel departed and they came. This verse describes the eagerness with which the Jewish people responded to Moses' request and how they brought their respective gifts immediately. The women were the first to respond. This is why the Torah records, verse 22. It says, the men came following the women. When the men arrived with their gifts, they found that the women had already preceded them. So it is a remarkable tribute to the Jewish women who had not been willing to give their men their jewelry to help with the making of the golden calf, but who now volunteered their most precious possessions with alacrity. My Rosh Yeshiva, Tzvi Kushelevsky, wrote a book on the Torah, and he uses this commentary, and he speaks about this what's called a midah. In Judaism, we have this concept called midot. Midot are character traits. And the character trait that's being praised over here is something called Zrizut, or alacrity, which means really doing things without delay. It's the opposite of being lazy. Being able to know what to do and to immediately get up and do it. And there's a beautiful book written by Rav Tulushkin about the Lubavitcher Rebbe called Rebbe. I don't know if you've read it.
I have that.
Definitely worthwhile reading. And one of the remarkable things about the Rebbe was that there was no delay. If something needed to be done and it was the correct thing to do, he did it immediately. Now, there was no tomorrow, there was no later, it had to be done now. And that's really what this verse seems to be, according to this commentary, Rabbeinu Bechaya, so the whole community left Moses' presence, meaning they immediately acted upon what he had what he had told them, what they had agreed to. So there's a story in the Gemara, in the Talmud, that says that there was a rabbi, Rav Elazar bar Tzadok, and he was a great rabbi, and a man approached him, and the man explained that he owned a field and he owned vineyards, and during the Shemitah year, Shemitah is the 7th year in which in Israel the land should lie fallow and no one really should own it. It becomes ownerless. Everyone is just entitled, anyone can come and take from the produce of the field, and you shouldn't work the field either. So he said that he had workers who would actually work his fields, and they would take the fruits as their payment. And was this correct practice? So Rav Elazar bar Tzadok replied that no, this was incorrect practice, because the fruits of the Shemitah year, the 7th year, should be used for the poor to eat, not to pay wages. And the man quickly left, only to return later and ask what he should do now that he had done the wrong thing. I guess he had stopped the practice. He had told the workers not to do this. What should he do? So Rav Elazar bar Tzadok replied that he should declare that the fruit ownerless and pay the workers from his own pocket. And the man left immediately again. And Rav Elazar bar Tzadok said, I've lived in this city for 40 years, yet I've never seen someone with such integrity and uprightness. Hang on one second. My daughter's home from school because of the virus, so her online class is going on and I can hear it.
Where is he, in Baltimore?
I'm in Baltimore, yeah.
Where?
DC.
In Baltimore, yeah.
Baltimore.
Okay, so the what was Rav Elazar bar Tzadok? What was he so impressed with? After all, this man had been doing something wrong. He had asked the question, and he had fixed the problem. So it seems to be that he was so impressed with the person's alacrity, meaning the fact that he now had to change direction. He had to go and stop the workers. He had to pay out of his own pocket. Many of us it's human nature. There's a certain laziness that we are susceptible to, and to see someone that overcomes that, someone that's able to not seem to be bound by the normal tethers of laziness, is a remarkable thing. There is an idea, I once heard about it, that the truth is that spirituality is not bound by time and space. Right? We can think about that in terms of concepts. If there's a abstract concept, which is true, there's no time and space for it. It just exists. It's outside of time and space. So too, our commitment or our attachment to spirituality, to those things which are correct, to morality, to being elevated in terms of our own selves, to making a positive impact in this world, should also not be dependent on time and space. And doing things in a lethargic or lazy way really brings them into this domain of time and space, the very physical world. Whereas if we're able to not delay at all, we're able to get going and not make any delays. That really helps. It's kind of it's fitting for doing good things, for doing things which are spiritual. It's one of the things. There's another well-known book called the Mesilas Yesharim, the Path of the Just, and he says that it's this is one of the things where if you fake it, you can fake it till you make it. Meaning, if you get into the practice of jumping out of bed when your alarm goes off, or doing things which need to be done immediately, you're sitting at the table and you want the salt and pepper, you just jump up and go and get it. Says after a while you will develop a habit. The habit will develop quite naturally, and you can become a person who's called a Zariz, actually have master this character trait of being someone who doesn't delay, someone that's not lazy and electric. The question I have is this true of all things? Should we jump up and just act without any delay for anything? So it seems it's not true for everything. In Pirkei Avot, the ethics of the fathers. So just by the way, over here, you can see my screen, right? Here is Safaria. This is an online app. So here we have Tanakh, that's the Torah, the Nevi'im and the Ketuvim, the Bible. The Mishnah is over here, and in the Mishnah there's a book called Pirkei Avot, which is ethics of the fathers. So it says Moses received the Torah at Sinai and gave it to Yeshua. Eventually it came to the men of the Great Assembly. And they said three things. Be patient in the administration of justice. Raise many disciples and make a fence around the Torah. So what did they mean to be patient in the administration of justice? So one of the commentators over here, also another well-known famous commentator, known as Rabbeinu Yonah. It's interesting because Rabbeinu Yonah, he was not very, let's see, in time and space. So he's in Gerona, Spain, from 1200 to 1263. And the commentator we saw before was 1255 in Zaragoza. So I guess he was a little boy when Rabbeinu Yonah died, one after the other. So his commentary is that one should be, when it comes to deliberate in judgment, he says that when it comes to making legal decisions and especially in litigation, so one should not rely on the first thought, but rather upon great deliberation and incisive investigation. Meaning that it's only, so he continues, so that they not err in their evaluation. Says later on that often when you think about something one way, to a certain understanding, and then when you look at it again for a second time, you can come to a new understanding, or actually a different understanding. So it would seem that from over here, when one's making a decision, when one is trying to work out what the right thing is to do, whether you're a judge, whether it's an individual, whether it's for your family, whether it's in business, whatever it might be, there one should spend time on doing that, right? There's no issue of delay. In fact, one should delay until one feels they've come to the truth and to the right decision. Once you have the right decision, so then it is proper to act with what's called Zrizut. Then there is no room for delay, and one should act immediately. So that's the Jewish guidance that we get from the Parsha. You guys, any questions?
Any questions?
No.
No.
How do you find any?
Yes.
How do you relate to this idea? Do you see it? Does it resonate? Is it distant?
Well, I think, no, that's helpful because sometimes I do think I do things really quickly, that it kind of helps to slow down and think about what you're doing, and also to think about the feelings of others before you come up with the information you have.
Right. So not always is it the best thing. Great. Yeah. Great. Especially when it's thinking about, other people. It's a great one. Yeah. We often, the tendency, I can speak for myself, the tendency is to think that everyone thinks like you and related to the world like you. And it's good to stop and think, wait, maybe people are looking at this differently, different perspectives.
Okay.
Great. Okay, well, that's this morning's little lesson. Glad you guys could make it. And
Thank you, Rabbi Bergman.
hope you'll log in again.
Thank you. How's it going over there in Baltimore with everything going on?
Pretty much, a lot of things are shut down. All the schools are shut down. My daughter's home from University of New York. She's having online lessons in the next room. I think, it's, yeah, how's it over there?
Same. Our kids are out of school too. Today's the first day they're out. And
Right.
We've just stayed home. And we don't go anywhere. We just kind of stay home. We take the dog for a walk around the neighborhood.
Right.
That's about it. You too? Have you left the house?
Yeah, also yesterday we went shopping. We needed to get some supplies. And that was pretty busy. But otherwise, just at home and walking around, not doing much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting how this develops.
I know. We'll have to see what happens. So, but I heard there's not much left in the market because I called last night to find out if we could go, what time they closed. And they told me not even to bother coming, that there's nothing left.
Really? Wow.
So that was just one market, but
yeah. Well, yeah, I think people are very cautious. There might be a level of panic that people are, going way overboard, but no one knows. That's the problem over here. No one knows how long it will be. No one knows what will happen to the stores. But I'm sure there's still enough to restock, and you'll be able.
Yeah, I think there's enough. I think it's just, I don't know if they have the manpower to restock it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's like an army that needs to come in to restock the shelves. So, okay, Rabbi. Well, thank you for everything. It was lovely.
Okay. Michael, nice to meet you a little.
Nice meeting you, sir.
Okay, fine. Have a great day, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, bye.